Hello. For tonight's Grizzly Tale, I'm going to read you a story from Fearsome Tales for Fiendish Kids. These are cautionary tales that I wrote for lovers of squeam. Tonight's story is called Mr. Peeler's Butterflies. Normally, nighttime is a peaceful affair, full of throat-throbbing snores and limp lip flutterings, full of snuggling and nuzzling and nestling and pillowy smells of sweet wafting cork smoke and buttery toast. A time when the passing world breathes a sigh of relief and wraps itself up in the cool black silk of the night sky. A time to rest, a time to recharge, a time to cannelloni in your duvet. In short, nighttime is for sleep. Alexander, however, thought differently. He was 10 years old and wouldn't go to bed when his parents sent him. "Oh, can't I just see the end of this programme?" he whined. It was already 9:30, 2 hours past his bedtime. "No," said his mother firmly, and his father agreed. Absolutely 110% no. "But it's really, really good." "Alexander, it's the weather report," wailed his mother. "Since when have you had even the slightest interest in the weather?" "Since you told him to go to bed," muttered Alexander's father. "It's educational," squirmed the boy, rolling across the floor and wedging himself underneath the coffee table so that his parents couldn't grab him. "I'm learning about isobars and warm fronts." "I'll give you a warm behind in a minute," threatened his father, rising from the sofa. "Oh, please, please, please," begged the burrowing boy. "Just 5 minutes more." His father grabbed his ankles and dragged him out into the middle of the sitting-room floor. "Bed!" he blasted. "Now!" "Will you carry me?" asked Alexander, knowing full well that this would add precious seconds to the climb upstairs. "If you promise to go to sleep when you get into bed," sighed his mother wearily, sagging under the weight of her son as he leapt into her arms and stuck his thumb in his mouth. "I'm not tired, you know," he said. "Yes, well, we are," glowered his father. "Good night." And with that, he collapsed back onto the sofa and went straight to sleep. Alexander made his mother stop on the landing outside his bedroom. "Just checking the cat's not up here," he said, scanning the floor. "Don't want her sleeping on my face, do I?" "OK, proceed." His mother dumped him onto his bed. "Good night," she panted. "Good night," said Alexander, pretending to climb under his duvet. Oh, whoops! I've forgotten to brush my teeth. Don't go away now, will you?" And he scooted into the bathroom before his mother could nail him. She sank to her knees and rested her tired head on the bed. The crumpled duvet smothered her ears, and its warm folds tugged at her eyelids. "Back again!" shouted Alexander, racing into the room and diving across the bed like he was scoring England's winning try at Twickenham. "Oh, good," she said blearily. "Now, perhaps we can all get some sleep." "Not until I've put on my shiny swimming costume," bounced the small boy. "Your what?" said his mother in astonishment. "Oh, I always wear it over my pyjamas," he informed her, rushing over to the chest of drawers in the corner. "The sparkle keeps the bogeyman away." Alexander's mother didn't have the foggiest idea what he was talking about. "The bogeyman hates the sparkly bits when they shine in his eyes," he explained slowly, like his mother had the brains of a junk jelly baby. Then he pulled his rainbow-coloured trunks over his pyjama trousers and adopted a Mr. Universe bicep-flexing pose in front of his mirror. "Looking good," he growled at himself. Are you ready now?" yawned his mother. "Yes," announced Alexander, cartwheeling into bed. "Ready for beddy." But of course he wasn't. He was still just warming up. He could keep his bedtime delaying tactics going all night, if necessary. "Have you checked the curtains?" he asked. "Yes, they're closed," replied his mother. "No, but really closed. I mean, so tight that I can't see any light coming through them at all. Could you do them again, please?" His mother rose from the bed and overlapped the edges of the curtain. "Satisfied?" she inquired. "Lovely," said Alexander. "Now, my light." "But I've just closed the curtains," snapped his mother. "Why do you need a light on?" "Well, different sort of lights," giggled Alexander under his duvet. If he was good, he could spin this explanation out for at least 5 minutes. "You see, one's a sort of outside light, you know." "Outside? Yes, I know outside," said his mother. "Yeah, and that one's all cold and moony. But the other, that's the inside light, obviously. Well, the other's all warm and cosy, like sucking on a strong cough sweet." His mother raised her hand sharply to call a halt to her scheming son's wittering. "I'll do it," she said, switching on his bedside light, kissing him on the forehead, and turning to leave the room. Alexander waited until she was on the landing before shouting, "Toys, Mummy!" "Not tonight," she implored him in a high, squeaky voice. "Go to sleep, Alexander." "But I can't sleep unless I've got all my toys in bed with me," he cried, turning on the waterworks to make his need appear that much more desperate. "Which ones?" demanded his mother crossly, re-entering the room like a stomping majorette. Alexander's manipulative face exploded into a sunny smile. "I want Flopsy and Mopsy," he said, pointing to the 2 rabbits that he'd been given on his first birthday. "My Action Man, that fire engine over there on the top shelf, those framed Ace of Base pictures on the wall, my rubber dinosaur Billy." As he reeled off his list, his mother flew around the room collecting the toys. She flung back the duvet, piled them onto Alexander's legs, and pulled the duvet back up. "There," she said. "Happy now?" "And the wind-up mouse in my shoe," whispered Alexander innocently. "And where's your shoe?" "Downstairs," he said, trying to smother his sniggering. "Oh, Alexander, please," begged his mother. "I shall cry." "Wait here." His mother stormed out of the room and stamped down the stairs, returning a couple of minutes later empty-handed. "There was no wind-up mouse in your shoe," she seethed. "Yes, I know. I just found it in my hand," apologised Alexander. "Oh, sorry, it must have been there all the time." His mother's eyes were twitching. Her mouth was sharp and humourless. "Are you going to read me a story?" "No." "Could I have my tape on then?" "Go to sleep," she roared, wailing out of the room like a wonky police siren. Alexander turned to face the curtains and smiled. He'd give her 7 minutes, just enough time to get settled downstairs. It was now 10:30. "Oh, Mummy," came the little voice from the top of the stairs. "Oh, Daddy." "What do you want now?" came the plaintive call from below. "I can't sleep." "Well, try shutting your eyes," bawled his livid father. "But the landing light's not on and I'm scared," whimpered Alexander, scuttling into the bathroom to splash fake tap tears onto his cheeks. Then he huddled pathetically by the banisters and waited for his father to emerge from the sitting room. Sure enough, seconds later, his heavy step pounded up the stairs. "You are a thorough nuisance," he hissed, switching on the landing light. "There." "I'm thirsty," pleaded Alexander. "I need a drink of water." "Right." His father got him one, spilling most of the glass over the carpet in his fury and haste. "Now will you go to bed?" "Can I go to the loo first?" "Why?" exclaimed his father. Alexander snorted. "It's that glass of water," he said. His father tapped his foot on the landing carpet while Alexander went into the bathroom and pretended to pee. Yes, sighed the boy loudly behind the door. That's much better. Then he pulled the chain and padded back into his bedroom. Anything else? Inquired his father sarcastically. If you keep this up much longer, Alexander, it'll be morning and you won't need to go to bed at all. But I learned how to do a handstand today, said the boy cheekily. Do you want to see it? His father's raised hand said no. No, only joking, said Alexander. I feel sleepy now. Then good night, said his father emphatically. And if either of us has to come up again, I promise you'll regret it. Alexander held his breath until his father was halfway down the stairs. Then he cried out, "Daddy!" in his loudest voice. The door nearly burst off its hinges as his father steamed back into the room. "What is it now?" he bellowed. "Good night," whispered Alexander, snuggling down into his duvet and closing his eyes. "Honestly, you grown-ups, you're such cross-patches." It was 11:30. Once his father had shut the sitting-room door, Alexander sat up in bed and played with his Game Boy for an hour until his parents went to bed. As they shuffled past his door like a couple of crumbly old snails, he pretended to be fast asleep, while secretly watching them out of the corner of his eye. "Oh, what pathetically weary creatures they are," he thought to himself, "needing sleep. I ask you." What Alexander failed to understand was that he too needed sleep. For in the mornings he was the grumpiest, stumpiest, clumpiest child in the world, but he thought he was different. He thought that going to sleep was a sissy thing to do, and besides, where was the fun in doing what his boring old parents asked? It was 4 o'clock in the morning. Alexander had only been asleep for 10 minutes when the latch on his window slid across with a sharp click. He turned over in his bed, snuffled like a contented piglet, and scratched his nose, but he didn't wake up. The sash window jarred in its runners as it juddered open, and a fishy smell wafted into Alexander's bedroom, followed by a single pink butterfly with combed black wings. It fluttered into the middle of the room and settled on the foot of Alexander's bed as a light footfall dropped onto the carpet behind the curtains. Alexander woke with a start. "Who's there?" he cried. There was no reply. "Mummy! Daddy!" He rubbed his eyes and peered through the gloom at his empty room. "What is it?" shouted his mother, stumbling across the landing. "There's something in my bedroom," blinked Alexander. "I heard it come in." The butterfly flew silently to the top of Alexander's wardrobe and hid in the shadows. "What is going on now?" roared Alexander's father as he barged into the room wearing a large pair of white underpants. "I warned you, Alexander." I was woken up. Honest I was. There's something in here." "Nonsense," growled his father, flicking a switch and groaning as the light exploded in the back of his eyes. "I'm fed up with your games. The room is empty." "But I can smell fish," persisted Alexander. "He's right," said his mother. "It smells like sardines." "Socks, more likely," grumbled Alexander's father, checking to see that the window was closed, which it was. "There," he barked. "Satisfied?" "But I heard something drop onto the floor." "Probably this," said his father, bending down to pick up a small metal tin that was lying on its side against the skirting board. He held it up to the light. "It's a tin of sardines," he said, baffled by his discovery. "Well, I didn't put it there," protested Alexander. "Well, then who did?" shouted his father. "Mr. Peeler?" "Mr. who?" asked his wife. "Well, at least it explains the smell of fish," he croaked. "Now can we all please just go back to sleep? I've had enough of your antics to last me a lifetime, Alexander." "Mr. who?" repeated his wife. "What? That name you just mentioned. Oh, Peeler. Well, you must know it. That Victorian nursery rhyme. Sleep, sleep, now close your eyes, don't tempt our Mr. Peeler, for if you lie awake at night, you'll summon the sleep stealer. Alexander's mouth had dropped open like an oven door. "What does sleep stealer mean?" he gasped. "Well, how should I know?" exploded his father. "It's a nursery rhyme like Jack and Jill. It doesn't mean anything." But Alexander didn't like the sound of this Mr. Peeler, real or not. "I'm back to bed," moaned his father. "Some of us need our sleep." And he staggered out, misjudging where the door was and cracking his head on the wall. Alexander looked at his mother, who was swaying on her feet. "I don't think I can sleep now," he said quietly. "So what's new?" yawned his mother. "I'll see you in the morning, and please don't wake us up with any more of your tricks." Then she too was gone, leaving Alexander all alone in the bedroom with the lights still on. The pink-skinned butterfly fluttered down from its perch on the wardrobe. Alexander rubbed his eyes and peered at the strange insect as it landed on his duvet. When it flapped its wings, it looked like it was blinking. "Sleep, sleep, now close your eyes," whispered the soft, echoing voice in Alexander's ear. "Don't tempt our Mr. Peeler." The boy spun round, but the voice jumped across the room as quick as a silverfish. "For if you lay awake at night," Alexander froze, "you'll summon the sleep stealer." A small, fat man had appeared at the end of Alexander's bed. He was wearing a yellow checkered waistcoat and baggy tweed trousers tucked into his boots. His face was round and ruddy, with mutton chop sideburns that swept off his cheeks and covered his wing collar and neckerchief. 1,000 butterflies hovered above his head like a shimmering floating crown, and in his hand he held a small butterfly net and a silver bodkin-like key. "Still not asleep?" he rasped, invading the room with his sardine breath. Alexander wanted to scream, but his tongue had set fast in his mouth. He shook his head. "I want you to know that I'm wearing my sparkly swimming trunk, so you can't hurt me," he blustered falteringly. The man broke into peals of laughter that sounded like they echoed from the white button end of a long tunnel. "I know who you are," shuddered Alexander. "And I know who you is too," said the jovial fish guzzler. "So in that nice, sort of cosy like." "You're Mr. Peeler." "I've been now for near 200 years, so guess I still am," said Mr. Peeler. "And you's Alexander." "I'm going to scream," said the boy, as Mr. Peeler took a glide towards him. "Oh, go ahead," smiled the intruder. "But you's fair tuckered your mother and father out. They wouldn't wake up tonight if the whole street came bashing down the door. Besides, if they did, they'd just think it was another one of your silly games to put off sleeping." He was standing right beside Alexander's bed now, leering at him with his rotten teeth. "What do you want?" said the boy, retreating under his duvet. "I want you to keep your eyes open for Mr. Peeler," said the grizzled man, winking at Alexander with one of his large pop-out peepers. "But you're already here," said the quivering wreck of a boy. "Oh, that's not quite what I meant," said his visitor, laying the butterfly net down on the bed and patting Alexander's cheek. "See, it occurs to me that them boys and girls what don't want to go to sleep can't be doing it just to upset their mothers and fathers. No, I reckons they does it 'cause they likes it, which is sort of where I come in. I'm here to help." He flashed out the silver key from behind his back. Have a roll back a sardine tin with one of these, Alexander. But Alexander was not listening. You can't steal my sleep, he shouted. It's mine. I need it. He was struggling to escape the fat man's grasp. Bit late for a change of heart now, boy, brayed Mr. Peeler. You want to stay awake all night, and I's here to make sure you do. And with one quick movement, he reached forward with the key and peeled Alexander's eyelids clean off his face. Alexander stared unblinkingly out into the room. Mr. Peeler was catching the butterflies in his net and sticking them onto his eyelids. Their fluttering wings made his eyelashes 10 feet long, and as they fluttered, he rose from the ground and flew across to the window. You see, said Mr. Peeler, these aren't butterflies at all. Just all them blinking eyelids what I've peeled off all you blinking kids. He sat Alexander's eyelids on top of the butterfly pile and unfastened the window catch. Now you see me, and now you see me again, he quipped, and again, and again, and again. Then he flew into the night sky, with his voice trailing off like a shooting star. Keep your eyeballs peeled for Mr. Peeler. Alexander never slept again. No matter how tired he became, he couldn't close his eyes, which made him wish, rather a lot in fact, that he'd just gone to sleep when his parents had told him to. Night night. Sleep tight.